Motivation is often treated as the engine of progress. When it's present, things feel easier. Effort flows, your direction feels clear. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes, influenced by mood, energy, circumstance, and season. When it disappears, many people assume something is wrong, when in reality, this is when something deeper is asked of you. In life, there are long stretches where motivation fades without warning. Nothing dramatic happened. You're just tired, or uncertain, or worn down by repetition. The spark that once drove you forward feels distant. This moment is common, yet rarely spoken about honestly. What matters most in these seasons is not how inspired you feel, but how you continue when inspiration is absent. Carrying on without motivation requires a different kind of strength. It's quieter, steadier, less visible. It's built on commitment rather than emotion. Motivation is emotional energy. Discipline is structural energy. One fluctuates, the other endures. When people rely solely on motivation, progress becomes inconsistent. When they rely on structure, effort continues even when desire fades. This isn't about forcing yourself relentlessly. It's about honoring the commitments you made when clarity was present. Carrying on doesn't mean pushing at full capacity. It means adjusting expectations without abandoning direction. It may look like smaller steps, slower progress, or simplified effort. Momentum maintained gently is still momentum. Many people quit in this phase not because the goal is wrong, but because they misinterpret the absence of motivation as a sign to stop. In truth, it's often a sign to shift how you engage. Motivation returns more often to those who stay in motion than those who wait for it. There's also emotional honesty required here. You see, lack of motivation can be a signal of exhaustion, misalignment, or emotional overload. And ignoring these signals leads to burnout. Listening to them allows recalibration. Carrying on doesn't mean ignoring yourself. It means responding wisely. When motivation fades, this phase tests your identity. You're no longer fueled by excitement or validation. You're fueled by values. Why you started matters more than how you feel. The work becomes quieter, less dramatic, but more defining. Progress made during unmotivated seasons builds confidence that inspiration alone never could. It proves to you that you can continue without perfect conditions, that you are not dependent on feeling ready. This is where self-trust is earned. Eventually, motivation returns, often unexpectedly. Not because you waited for it, but because effort created movement. Action clears stagnation. Consistency restores energy. Motivation is often the result, not the requirement. Carrying on when motivation is gone doesn't look impressive. It looks ordinary. It looks like showing up when no one's watching. It looks like choosing steadiness over intensity. Over time, these quiet choices accumulate into something strong. Motivation may start the journey, but it rarely finishes it. What carries you forward is the ability to continue with clarity, restraint, and patience, even when the spark is dim. And when motivation does return, it finds you already moving. Responsibility is one of those words that carries weight, whether we acknowledge it or not. It's often spoken about in terms of obligation, what you owe to others, what's expected of you, what must be done. But responsibility runs deeper than duty. At its core, responsibility is about ownership. And ownership always begins with yourself. Before responsibility shows up in your work, your family, or your team, it shows up in how you live when no one else is watching. It shows up in your standards, in the promises you keep to yourself, and whether your actions align with the person you claim to be. We all carry responsibilities to others, to show up, to contribute, to be reliable. These matter. They build trust. They create stability. But none of them can be sustained if you neglect the responsibility you have to yourself. When self-responsibility is weak, everything else eventually suffers. Responsibility to yourself means refusing to drift. It means deciding what you stand for and acting accordingly, even when it's inconvenient. It's holding yourself to a standard that doesn't depend on external pressure or supervision. No one needs to remind you. You already know this. This is where many people struggle. It's easier to meet expectations when they're enforced from the outside. It's harder to enforce them internally. Responsibility requires honesty, especially when excuses are available, especially when effort goes unnoticed. Owning responsibility doesn't mean being perfect. It means being accountable. When things fall short, you don't deflect blame. You don't hide behind circumstances. You look directly at what was within your control and you take ownership of it. This mindset changes how you show up everywhere. At work, responsibility means doing the job with care, not just completion. It means contributing fully, even when recognition isn't guaranteed. With family, it means presence, emotional as well as physical. Being dependable, not just available. On a team, it means preparation, effort, and integrity. You don't lower the standard because no one is checking. But none of this works without self-responsibility first. Your responsibility to yourself is to protect your values, to maintain your discipline, to make decisions that align with who you're trying to become, not just how you feel in the moment. It's about choosing long-term self-respect over short-term comfort. When you ignore that responsibility, it shows. Standards slip, effort becomes inconsistent. You begin to rely on motivation instead of commitment. Over time, that erosion creates frustration, not because life is unfair, but because you know you've compromised something. Responsibility is not meant to be heavy. It's meant to be grounding. It gives structure. It gives clarity. When you know what you're responsible for, decisions become simpler. You just stop negotiating with yourself and you act. And the more consistently you uphold your own standards, the more trust you build internally. That trust becomes confidence, not loud or showy, but steady. You know who you are because your actions reinforce it daily. Ultimately, responsibility is not about carrying the weight of the world. It's about carrying your share with intention, about showing up fully in the roles you choose to hold, starting with the one you can't step away from. The responsibility to be honest with yourself, to respect your own standards, to live in a way that doesn't require excuses. Everything else flows from there. There's a quiet struggle that unfolds nearly inside every person, a kind of internal friction that rarely gets discussed openly. It doesn't show up in the physical world, and it doesn't require anyone else to be present. Instead, it emerges in the privacy of our own thoughts, a subtle, persistent tension between who we truly are and the voice inside that tries to convince us otherwise. This voice, often called the inner critic, can be one of the most persuasive forces we encounter. It doesn't shout, it whispers, it questions, it plants doubt in moments that feel fragile or uncertain. And because it speaks in our own tone, with our own memories and fears attached, it's easy to mistake it for truth. Most people recognize this inner critic. It's the voice that suggests we're not good enough, not capable enough, or not worthy of what we desire. It's the voice that appears right when we're about to take a risk, make a change, or pursue something meaningful. It doesn't encourage growth. It defends the familiar. It thrives on fear, hesitation, and old stories we may have carried for years without ever examining where they came from. Left unchallenged, this voice shapes the way we move through the world. It can make us shrink from opportunities, settle for less when we deserve, or remain stuck in patterns that limit us. Over time, the inner critic can become the kind of mental cage, one built from thoughts rather than walls, but restricting all the same. Yet the presence of this voice is not a sign of weakness. It is, in many ways, a sign of our humanity. The inner critic becomes louder when we're approaching something important or stepping outside the boundaries of who we've been. People don't usually hear strong internal resistance when they're standing still. They hear it when they're on the verge of growth. Understanding this is essential. The goal isn't to silence the inner critic completely. Most people never do. The goal is to recognize it for what it is, a habitual voice, not an authority, a reaction, not a prediction, a fear, not a fact. There's a quiet kind of power in meeting that voice with gentleness rather than hostility. Instead of accepting its judgment as truth, we can respond with curiosity. When the inner critic says we're not enough, we can ask where that belief began. When it insists we shouldn't try, we can question whether the warning is based on genuine danger or simply old echoes of self-doubt. Over time, choosing a different response begins to shift the dynamic. The voice doesn't disappear, but our relationship with it changes. We learn that we can act even when doubt is present. We learn that we can take a step forward without waiting for perfect confidence. We learn that the presence of fear doesn't have to dictate the direction of our lives. Each small act of courage, sending the application, finishing the project, having the difficult conversation, trying again after a setback, they all weaken the authority of the inner critic. With every decision grounded in intention rather than fear, we reclaim a part of ourselves that may have been overshadowed for years. Growth often begins quietly in the space between hearing that voice and choosing not to obey it. Eventually, a kind of clarity emerges. We become more aware of our patterns, more compassionate with our doubts, and more confident in our ability to navigate them. We start to trust the part of ourselves that wants to expand rather than the part of us that wants to remain protected. The inner critic may always exist, but it doesn't have to lead. Its presence is not the truth of who we are. It's simply one voice among many. And when we decide to guide our lives with purpose, courage, and self-awareness, that voice loses the power it once held. In the end, the journey is not about eliminating the inner critic, but about rising above it, gently, consistently, and with the understanding that growth often happens in the space where doubt and determination meet. I know you felt it before, that spark to change. Maybe you decided to start exercising, eat better, or finally call someone you've been avoiding. For a while you're excited, you feel unstoppable. But then life happens. You slip back into your old routines, and before you know it, nothing's changed. Why does this happen? Well, if we understand patterns, change is natural, but real progress takes strategy, identity, and emotional power. Change is automatic. Progress is not. To live means growth happens or decay happens. There's no middle ground. But knowing this isn't enough to keep going when excuses pop up. Understanding why people don't change is crucial. To effect lasting change, the brain needs emotional leverage. We often react only when discomfort outweighs comfort. When change hurts more than staying the same, then we act. That's called hitting your emotional threshold. It's your inner "this has to change" moment. Now, once you get that spark, now you need a vision so compelling it pulls you forward. You need your identity to change, because most habits fight your sense of self. If deep down you believe, "I'm not that kind of person," progress fades. So what turns a spark into a permanent flame? First, we got to get clear on our vision and feel it. You don't change because you want something, you change because you feel that change is in your bones. Close your eyes and ask, what will my life look like after making this change? Feel the pride, the energy, the peace. That emotional pull becomes magnetic. And then secondly, raise your standards. You can choose discipline over momentary comfort every day. There's pain in discipline and there's pain in regret, but regret lasts longer. So ask yourself, will today's choice bring me closer to who I want to become or pull me back? Third is you need to shape your identity. Most people try to change what they do. The smarter move is to change who you believe you are. Each small choice is a vote for that new identity. If you say, I'm a reader, then you'll make time for reading. If you say, I'm someone who keeps promises, then you'll keep the promises you make to yourself. Speak differently, act differently. Stack small wins so your identity shifts from the inside out. Fourth step is to immerse yourself in supporting habits. See, lasting change comes from rituals, not on and offs. If you want to become a writer, then create a habit of writing at 6 a.m. before checking your phone. Momentum isn't magic, it's built through small actions done consistently. And the last step is to create leverage and environment. This means surrounding yourself with people, places, and reminders that support your new path. So remove the snacks if you're avoiding junk food. If you want to stop scrolling before bed, keep your phone in a different room. Build external support that champions your internal change. Effective change isn't about trying, it's about mastery. And that means stop dabbling and start going all in. Whether it's health, work, or relationships, lasting change comes when you commit, consistently refine, and embrace growth as your identity. Motivation will falter, and willpower will weaken. But when your change becomes tied to who you are, your identity, then the path forward gets easier. You don't rely on feeling like it, you rely on being that person every day. So pick one change you're ready to live, not just attempt. Make the vision real, raise your standard, cast a tiny vote for the new you today. Set a ritual, shape your space, find one person to keep you honest. Change won't promise to be easy, but it will promise to be worth it. When you make this commitment to your future, to your identity, to the people you love, you stop relapsing and you start transforming. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you just stepped outside and breathed? I'm not talking about rushing to your car or walking to the mailbox. I'm talking about spending time in nature, just you, disconnected from screens, you and nature. It's easy to forget that we are part of the natural world. Our bodies were made to move, to feel the sun on our skin. But too often we're surrounded by noise, by screen time, by coworkers and friends occupying our time. We treat the outdoors like an afterthought, like something extra. Like if we have time, we'll do it. But nature isn't extra at all. In fact, it's essential. More and more research is showing what we already knew, that nature heals. Being in a green space can lower your stress, reduce anxiety, even help with depression. You see, just walking through the park, touching trees, sitting down on the grass, being grounded, it all adds up. Your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, your thoughts settle, and you begin to feel more human again. Doctors in some parts of the world are prescribing time in nature the same way that they would prescribe pills or medication. And the reason they do this is because it works. Now you might be thinking, well, I don't have time. or I don't live near the water. But neither of those are essential for green wellness. It can be as simple as having your morning coffee outside, or going for a walk after lunch, or sitting under a tree on your break. All of these are not big things, but they're real things, and they bring you back to yourself. We spend so much time taking care of everybody else. We pour our energy into work, paying bills, and everything in between. But what happens if you don't refill your own cup? That's what green wellness is all about. It's about reconnecting with what makes us feel alive. Slowing down and grounding ourselves. Letting nature remind us that life doesn't have to be rushed, doesn't have to move so fast. We can take time for ourselves. This is about self-care. This is survival. We all have stress. We all have burdens that no one sees. But nature doesn't ask questions. It waits for us, and then it heals. So try spending 5 minutes a day with nature. That's it. Go for a walk. Touch the grass or a tree. Feel the wind. Be still. You don't need fancy tools, you just need to show up. Nature has always been there. It's waiting, ready to remind you of who you are. And it's time you reconnected. This is your medicine. It's free, it's simple, and it works. If not now, then when? Seriously, if you're waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect mood, the perfect plan, you might be waiting forever. See, life doesn't slow down so you can catch up. Time doesn't pause just because you're not ready. The truth is, urgency is your ally, and now is all you've got. Too many people treat life like they've got unlimited chances, like they can always start tomorrow. But how many tomorrows have you already let slip away? Let me remind you that your dream, your goal, that thing you keep saying you want, it won't wait forever. Not because it's going anywhere, but because you are. Days will pass, months will pass, and before you know it, you're stuck in the same spot, wondering how the time disappeared. This isn't about panic, it's about purpose. Now, you don't need to hustle yourself into exhaustion, but you do need to wake yourself up. Because motivation doesn't always knock. It's something you have to ignite. And urgency is the spark. Because you've got goals, you've got ideas, you've got things inside you that could change your life or someone else's. But none of it happens without action. And action needs fuel. It needs a reason that's bigger than your excuses. What would change in your life if you treated every day like it mattered? What if you woke up with the mindset that, I don't want to waste another minute? How would you move? How would you speak? What decisions would you make differently? This is your reminder. You do have what it takes, but you need to act like it. Don't wait to feel motivated. Don't wait to feel ready. Create the energy by taking the first step. Start moving and your mind will catch up. See, action creates momentum, and momentum builds motivation. And no, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be now. Write the first line of the book, make the call, put on your shoes and get moving, take the class, post the video, have the conversation, whatever it is, start. Don't overthink it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Just move. Because when you act with urgency, you send a message to yourself and to the world, I'm serious. I'm here. I'm not waiting for life to happen. I'm making it happen. People who succeed aren't always the smartest. They're not always the most talented, but they are hungry. They treat their time like it matters. They don't wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. So if you've been stuck, tired, lost in hesitation, this is your moment. Feel the urgency. Not because you're afraid of running out of time, but because you value the time you have. This is your life. It's not a rehearsal. It's not a warm-up. This is it. So light that fire. Start where you are. And let the urgency push you toward everything you're capable of becoming.